This is the guy that was on the Sean Ryan show, right?
Yes.
So he's talking about how he was I guess he was a fireman out there, and
Yeah. He lives in Alaska.
he was saying there's direct energy weapons.
Do you know about, you have a lot of physicists on the show, so I follow a lot of that. And so I already knew about the ice cube neutrino detector just from following science channels. Because without any of this
Let's
stuff,
listen to what he says, because it sounds so kooky. Are we allowed to?
That's the whole podcast. I gotta find I'm looking for the clip, I think.
Oh, that was a whole podcast?
Yeah, I think.
In this captivating interview, the curtain is pulled back on the secretive world of Antarctic operations as a former tradesman and firefighter shares startling revelations about covert activities and advanced technologies hidden within the icy confines of the South Pole.
The device is also for faster-than-light communications.
From his first-hand experiences at the facility to his keen insights into the true nature of the research being conducted, this whistleblower exposes a landscape of intrigue and danger that few have dared to explore.
What was weird about Antarctica?
There's nothing there. So if you want to go see the emperor penguins or all of the wildlife that is available, you can't go to the interior of Antarctica, which is where we were. I thought that this was going to be the coolest jump that I'd ever done. And what I will say it is, it's probably the coolest location, because we were there for a week. We did our first jump the day after we got there. Then we did the final jump the day that we left. But it's a camp, the company's called ALE, Antarctic Logistics and Exploration. And it's a full-on camp. Like Alex Honnold had passed through shortly after we had left there. He was climbing Mount Vincent, which is the largest mountain in Antarctica. Crazy group of people. Fully set up, like library, indoor packing area for us to do our parachutes, bathrooms, showers, really nice tents. Will Smith was there earlier. Like, if you're gonna film, if you're gonna do like a high-end film project, you basically work your way through that. It's fully established. There's a blue ice runway. We flew in on a 757 runway made of like blue ice. The runway you land on is straight fucking ice. It's a chartered 757 through Icelandic Air.
Holy shit, you just land on ice?
Straight up blue ice.
The interview opens with the whistleblower recounting his tenure at the South Pole, where he served as both a plumber and firefighter. He paints a vivid picture of his role within the facility, detailing his access to restricted areas and his integral involvement in maintaining its operations.
I was a lead on the firefighting team, and because of that dual role capacity, I physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility.
However, beneath the surface of routine maintenance lies a labyrinth of secrecy and deception, where scientific equipment doubles as weapons of war.
From 2010 to 2011, you were a tradesman and firefighter on the South Pole. Antarctica is a contractor for Raytheon. You spent 366 continuous days at the South Pole. You were experimented on as a child and trained to be a remote viewer.
Correct.
Through a program called Stargate Project. Submarine service in the Navy. Plumber for the wealthy elite on Long Island prior to Raytheon, and experience with UFOs.
Yes.
You're a whistleblower for the benefit of humanity. Why are you blowing the whistle now?
I'm
What are you
blowing
hoping
the
to
whistle
accomplish?
because I'm obliged to. I don't know anybody that's walked a similar path to me in life, so it's necessary information that gets out there. I wish that I could be relieved of the task, but until I can find someone that can properly handle this information, I have to be on point for it.
Central to the whistleblower's revelations is the Ice Cube neutrino detector, a device purportedly designed for scientific research, but allegedly harboring a sinister secret. Contrary to its benign facade, the whistleblower claims that the detector is not merely a passive listener, but a potent transmitter capable of wielding directed energy weapons. Operated by the University of Wisconsin, he alleges that the detector played a role in triggering earthquakes, citing the devastating events in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011 as evidence of its destructive capabilities.
The Ice Cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented. for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit. There are embedded in the ice what are called digital optical modules, DOMs. They're about the size of a basketball. The array embedded in the ice is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It is the world's largest telescope, and now because we have proven that it can transmit, it's the world's largest directed energy weapons system. It is responsible for the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011 on the front end of the year.
How do you know for a fact that that was responsible for that?
Because I was present, and I have gone over this with the pertinent people, but I will not be releasing their names.
Okay.
But I was on the team, let's just say, and I've confirmed this. Provided documentation from the actual manufacturer's specs. Constructed, operated, and maintained by the University of Wisconsin, and just like every other device on the planet, whether you're driving an M1 Abrams tank or operating the IceCube neutrino detector, there's operator's manuals that tell you how things work.
The whistleblower's revelations extend beyond the realm of conventional warfare and into the realm of quantum entanglement, a phenomenon that defies traditional notions of distance and communication. He exposes how this enigmatic quantum property has been harnessed for long-distance communication, enabling covert operations to transcend geographical boundaries undetected. By delving into the intricacies of quantum entanglement, he unveils a world where information can be transmitted instantaneously, opening the door to unprecedented levels of surveillance and control. This exploitation of quantum mechanics represents a paradigm shift in the realm of covert operations, amplifying the urgency of the whistleblower's call to action.
The way quantum entanglement works is that you can take two particles, quantum entangle them, and then take those two particles and move them at any distance in the cosmos. And let's just say, for example, if you quantum entangle two electrons and you have them spinning in the same direction, and then you take one of those electrons and you shoot that thing out 100,000 light years from the original. If you then rotate the spin on the one electron, if you modify it so that its spin changes, the quantum entangled electron at any distance will simultaneously, in no time, switch its rotation also, because they're quantum entangled. So these communication systems are taking advantage of this aspect of quantum mechanics that most people can't wrap their heads around. And this is what they're utilizing. It's just the new level of science that affords us the ability to communicate at any distance instantaneously.
The whistleblower sheds light on the manipulation of voices through advanced techniques, including the disturbing phenomenon known as voice-to-skull technology, with chilling implications for personal privacy and mental autonomy. These revelations underscore the precarious intersection of science and secrecy.
Voice-to-skull technology. This is also in the foray of directed energy weapons.
What is that?
The ability to, let's just say, throw your voice into your head, or my voice into my head, or allowing algorithms that now they can blanket a whole geographical area and they can make everybody change their thoughts. They can, I use the term intrusive thoughts. Back to that fork in the road analogy. If you find yourself where you have to make a decision about something, next thing you know, you catch yourself kind of having an argument in your head with your own voices. Well, the ability to add another one of your voices in there, but have it controlled by somebody else's microphone, so to say, is a very powerful tool. And I think this is a weapon of war that we are seeing happen to everyone around us. The Department of Defense recently started initiating protocols for their employees, their agents, to discuss Havana syndrome-like symptoms. And on that list is that their agents are hearing voices in their head. And this is what they're getting at. This is that technology that, you know, next thing you know, you're trying to make a decision, but there's another Sean in your head that now is actually somebody else's control. And through the manipulation of that voice, they can now push you, just like we have, you know, the cell phones are weaponized now, the social media platforms, and they can engage with an algorithm, and they know that they can push you in a direction by repetitive information being displayed in front of you, similar to the Takistoscope in grammar school, that they can learn your system and they can learn to manipulate it on a personalized level by just assessing you, what the things are that you're interested in, what are your weak points, what's the crack in the dam, what's the angle of attack. And it's through repetition and access. These are simply electromagnetic impulses in your head. It's not that they can't be read, it's not that they can't be copied, and it's not that they can't be just replayed with somebody else's control. I mean, I could get a voice changing thing and I could sound like you if I wanted to. I could call you on the phone. I could call your loved ones and I could pretend I'm Sean. And they can do that for you in your own head.
As the interview unfolds, the whistleblower issues a sobering warning about the implications of these clandestine activities. He cautions against complacency in the face of technological advancements that threaten to erode fundamental freedoms and sow discord among humanity. With an air of urgency, he implores listeners to heed the call to action and confront the shadowy forces at play in the Antarctic wilderness. This eye-opening interview serves as a portal into a clandestine realm, where secrecy and intrigue cloak the activities unfolding beneath the icy expanse of Antarctica. Through the courageous testimony of a whistleblower, we are granted unprecedented access to the hidden truths lurking within the frozen depths. As the narrative unfolds, a chilling reality emerges, one replete with covert operations and advanced technologies operating beyond the scrutiny of public awareness.
I want to emphasize that we are currently in a state of war that people aren't realizing.
What is that?
These weapons are being wielded around us, against us. There are power players that are above nation states. Geographical boundaries and political parties mean very little to the wealthy elite on this planet. We're pawns, we're chattel. I am a person for the people. We, the people of this planet, deserve a better future than the one we are being presented. We've all, through our blood, sweat, and tears, we've invested here in the United States. We've invested our taxpayer dollars for these people to create weapon systems that they're using against us. It's a sin. It's illegal, it's a sin, it's immoral, and we have to do better for the future generations of this planet.
At the heart of the whistleblower's revelations lies a fervent call for transparency and accountability in both governmental and corporate spheres. With unwavering resolve, he challenges the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, decrying its failure to stem the tide of militarization and covert activities. He shines a spotlight on the exploitation of advanced technologies for insidious purposes, from mind control to psychological warfare, painting a portrait of a world teetering on the brink of ethical abyss.
Antarctica Treaty of 1959. An agreement signed by 12 nations in which the Antarctic continent was made demilitarized to be preserved for scientific research. What do you think about that?
I think it's a load of malarkey. And I'm going to throw a gentleman's name out there that I have worked with. He told me very specifically at the time that we communicated. He's going to die when he sees this video. I worked with a gentleman by the name of Aaron Bontrager. And he was also previously contracted by Raytheon Polar Services as a cook to work on a cat train that went across the ice. And he said the express purpose for him, I should say, for that team working for Raytheon was they were searching for missile site locations. The whole idea of this being demilitarized is a load of baloney.
The whistleblower's impassioned plea for justice reverberates with urgency, urging viewers to heed the call to action and confront the hidden dangers lurking beneath the ice of Antarctica and beyond. His revelations peel back the layers of secrecy shrouding clandestine endeavors, compelling individuals to educate themselves and pierce the veil of deception. With a rallying cry for collective accountability, he underscores the gravity of the situation, emphasizing that the very future of humanity hangs precariously in the balance. As the whistleblower lays bare the stakes at hand, he offers a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness, a beacon beckoning all who dare to challenge the status quo. His unwavering commitment to truth-telling serves as a catalyst for vigilance and courage in the face of unchecked power. By encouraging viewers to confront uncomfortable truths and grapple with the implications of complicity, he empowers them to chart a course toward a future defined by transparency and integrity.
There's a system known as ELF, extra low frequency. It's also a massive antenna that's embedded in the ice there. When I arrived to the facility as a tradesman and firefighter, I was read into how everything worked, because I needed for the safety of my crew to be able to battle fires and engage things appropriately. And at the onset, I was told that the ELF system is off. It's defunct, it's disabled, it is just sitting dead in the ice. But through my need to make an additional repair on something else, and tracing back to a sub-panel, I was finding the circuit that I needed to lock out, tag out, and do all the safe repairs. But then I noticed that this other breaker that was supposed to be off was in the on position, and it was listed as the ELF. And I ran it up my chain. I said, what's going on here? I said, this is supposed to be off. I was told it's off now. And I was just given a hard, it's on. And that was the end of my need to know. They didn't want to tell me anything else. You have identified the circuit that you need to work on. You have been informed that you can safely do your job. Carry on. So I did my job. I made the repair that I needed to on the circuit next to the circuit that I was now informed is duly on and operating. So the ELF is up and running, and that, again, is a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform.
Do you have pictures of any of this stuff?
I have a lot of pictures of me in these facilities. They mostly just prove my presence.
If you hand those over, I'll display them on screen right now. If I can get them.
I can get you pictures before you present this to the world.
I would appreciate that.
In the crucible of revelation, viewers are confronted with the sobering realization that the shadows cast by secrecy and deception extend far beyond the icy expanse of Antarctica, permeating the very fabric of society. The whistleblower's testimony serves as a catalyst for introspection, compelling individuals to ponder their role in shaping the trajectory of human civilization. It prompts a critical examination of power dynamics and moral responsibility, challenging viewers to confront uncomfortable truths and take decisive action. Amidst the uncertainty, there lies an opportunity, a chance to reclaim agency and demand accountability. The whistleblower's call to action resonates with a sense of urgency, urging individuals to rise to the occasion and forge a path toward a more just and equitable world. By shining a light on the darkest corners of human endeavor, he catalyzes a movement for change, inspiring individuals to unite in pursuit of a shared vision of a better tomorrow.
A lot of bad things going on this planet. I'm sure that you've experienced it yourself firsthand. And you're aware that a lot of people don't know that these things are happening in the shadows. I want people to know what's really going on this planet so they can make educated decisions about what they have to do to protect themselves and their children.
Well, that's very noble of you. Man, I really appreciate it. I have, that's a lot of info to process.
I understand.
It's gonna take me a minute to come up with questions, and
as viewers grapple with the implications of the whistleblower's revelations, they are compelled to confront their own complicity and take a stand for truth and justice. In doing so, they become agents of change, actively shaping the course of history and ensuring that the sins of the past do not dictate the future.
Presence of Antarctica on ancient maps, because we didn't discover it until 1820.
Antarctica is a large, mostly frozen continent with strong winds, frequent snowfall, occasional thawing, expanding water upon freezing, and the ability of ice-covered water to fracture, creating unusual patterns. What Antarctica reminds us of are its enormous snow-covered terrain and freezing-to-death atmosphere. However, does anyone think something may be hiding behind this huge mound of snow? Is this discovery proof that aliens have landed on Earth? And why is the world power trying to hide it from the entire planet? Join us as we explore the terrifying truths of the U.S. At its inception, Earth served as a catch-all for meteorites that fell to Earth. Moreover, these collisions provide proof of extraterrestrial life. Despite this, astrobiology scientists continue to pursue different topics and conduct different studies in response to these impacts. There have been 50,000 meteorites that have crashed into Antarctica so far. Footprints in the snow and the slow but steady melting of glaciers over time provided all the proof needed. But Allen Hill's 84,001 in 1984 is the rock that has been found to date that is most important. By following that rock path, scientists were able to return to Mars. The fossilization of prehistoric life was found in the snow rock, which was a surprising discovery. Antarctica is possibly a land of extremes. Even Japan's Mount Fuji cannot break this 3 miles thick snow surface. During its peak season, only 4,000 scientists and military personnel can inhabit this suspicious land. Antarctica is the last frontier. It holds our imagination. Here be monsters, proclaimed ancient maps. Antarctica is the last uninhabited continent that might have been so designated. The discovery of this frozen continent 250 years ago left scientists with more questions than answers. But the icy's thickness conceals its surface, thus many questions remain unsolved. The ancient astronaut theory put forth the idea that it is not just the geology that is hidden from us. According to experts, Antarctica is a hub of human and maybe non-human activity. An ancient astronaut theorist proposed that it is not just the geology that is hidden from us. Experts suggest that Antarctica is an epicenter of human and perhaps non-human activity. Furthermore, many believe this area may be some sort of extraterrestrial base. If these theories hold, then Antarctica has been home to extraterrestrial colonies for a very long time. Despite its snowy appearance on Earth maps, Antarctica has the potential to host colonists from other planets. An unnamed military person's testimony as an eyewitness to a suspicious incident also contributed to the theory's validity. In July of 2018, Linda Moulton Howe conducted an interview with that individual, with one condition though. That individual would not have consented to submit the data unless his identity could be concealed. That person claimed to have visited, along with his team, an octagonal structure protruding from the ice. The top structure rose 18 feet from the ice, while the rest was hidden. All the entrance doors were the same. Although the doors looked thick and heavy, a slight push opened the door during the first attempt. At that moment, the outside temperature was minus 40 degrees. However, when they entered inside, the temperature rose to 70 degrees. One thing that took that military person and his team by surprise was that the entire place was lit in a lime green color without any source. Further, the wall was lined with hieroglyphics. Antarctica offers fewer opportunities for excavation due to its physiological isolation from the globe. Surrounded by nearly pure ice, being alive for any length of time becomes an impossibility. Additionally, on typical days, the temperature drops to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Numerous challenges are placed on scientists and specialists by this physical component. Maybe someone is living in our remote past? Perhaps this alien race has constructed enormous secret structures that we are unaware of. It has the potential to be the biggest revelation in human history, according to scientists. More so, online UFO enthusiasts have spotted what they claim is a crashed UFO in Antarctica. The 6-mile-wide island of Hummock is home to 2 mountains, Bosch Peak and Motive Peak, and an eerie item that people on the internet are calling an alien spacecraft. It is near Motive Peak where the strange item was spotted. Whether or not it is a UFO is unknown, but it does resemble an alien vessel from a 1960s movie. The object has a domed top and wide rim and appears to be metallic in composition and is positioned on its side. The putative extraterrestrial ship was deemed a run-of-the-mill UFO by numerous social media users who put its width at 12 meters. It's obviously a craft. Look at how smooth the curvature is. If being eroded by a wave, it would not keep a consistent shape like that, and certainly not poke out the opposite way, and even indent in behind it, forming a perfect circle. The ones saying it's ice are completely ignoring these facts. This is a wonderful find, one social media user commented. While on assignment for Raytheon Technologies Corporation in Antarctica, Eric Hecker, speaking at the U.S. UFO disclosure meeting, claimed to have seen powerful machines that might be utilized to contact alien crafts in deep space. Directed energy weapon systems are something that people need to get into their vocabulary fast. There are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even begin to imagine that exist on this planet. According to their scientific claims, the IceCube neutrino detector can do more than just listen. It can actually send out signals. There are digital optical modules embedded in the ice. Having demonstrated its transmitting capabilities, the world's largest direct energy weapon system has been transformed from the world's largest telescope. Billy Carson, a paranormal researcher and UFO believer, said Antarctica is hiding an evil or dangerous secret under its frozen surface. According to him, a NASA photo shows a pyramid in the Ellsworth Mountains, which he believes is a sign of an ancient evil that might be unleashed by scientific exploration. Additionally, he cited the warning of retired astronaut Buzz Aldrin about the threat of an evil entity. Also recently, a NASA scientist has recently made a shocking revelation that is sure to give goosebumps to believers in extraterrestrial life. It is worth noting that NASA has already discovered several mysterious tunnels. Following these discoveries, the American Space Agency has also been accused of hiding information regarding extraterrestrials. In fact, according to media reports, Kevin Knuth, a distinguished academician working at NASA's Ames Research Center, believes that the oceans are inhabited by aliens who are living secretly. These claims are certainly surprising. During a podcast, Theories of Everything, Knuth stated that if aliens are really present on our blue planet, then the seafloor or ocean floor would be ideal for them. They can create a base, live comfortably, and keep an eye on the happenings on Earth. According to podcast host Kevin Knuth's Theory of Everything, the majority of Earth's mass is water. We still don't have a full picture of the underwater environment since extraterrestrials have been there. The aliens may have found the ideal hiding spot here. Extraterrestrials, in Kevin's opinion, are exceptionally bright, and they would thrive in oceans if they originate from a watery habitat. Meanwhile, non-native animals pose a threat to the last big wilderness on Earth due to global warming. An extraterrestrial creature rests face up on green non-slip flooring at the base of the stairs to Deck 5. Up close, you can make out the twitching of one of its 6 legs and the crushed remains of one of its translucent wings. While Australia's newest icebreaker, the RSV Nohona, is carrying a large number of Antarctic expeditions, this ship has not yet cleared customs. The extraterrestrial creature buzzed across the Derwent River, squeezed through an open hatch, and sped into the ship's belly until it died of agitation and tremors a few days after the Nuaina left Hobart, Tasmania. Musca domestica is the scientific name for this animal. Most people recognize it as the common housefly. It probably wouldn't have made it to Antarctica, even if someone hadn't stepped on it. Flies move very slowly and almost don't take flight when the temperature drops below 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Surviving flies buzz at the ship's windows, trying to escape the upper decks. If their prison break were to succeed, they'd find themselves facing seemingly endless waters with nowhere to go. The Southern Ocean provides a formidable barrier to entering Antarctica, a great wall of water and powerful currents that have separated the continent from the rest of the world for about 30 million years. Couple that with freezing temperatures, and the Antarctic provides little hope for a wayward housefly trapped on a ship. The temperature of Antarctica, however, is changing, and changing dramatically. East Antarctica was 70 degrees hotter than usual. Although it could be a one-off, scientists are predicting that the average temperature of the continent might increase by a couple of degrees by the year 2050. The continent is warming at a rate that is 10 times faster than the global average in some areas, such as the Western Peninsula. The Esperanza Base Research Station in Argentina hit a record high temperature of 18.3 degrees Fahrenheit in February 2020, creating an environment that a stray housefly may potentially live in. Lost flies have had a tough time getting to the southernmost continent on Earth in the past. Humans started offering transient opportunities for alien intrusion in the 1800s, when Antarctic explorers were trying to find and document the continent. Antarctic research stations, which are permanent outposts for researching the ice and the Antarctic ecology, are resupplied annually by a small number of nations with a permanent presence across the continent. The continent and its environs are now more accessible than ever before via air and water, but membership is still limited. According to Dana Bergstrom, an ecologist at the Australian Antarctic Division, back of the napkin math suggests that less than 1 million people have ever set foot on Antarctician soil. However, even that is evolving. Tourists were flocking to the Antarctic in droves before the epidemic grounded all ships. The International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators reports that around 75,000 tourists visited the Antarctic in the 2019-20 season. Compared to last season, that's a 35% rise. No matter where people go, bugs will follow. Tourism organizations like the International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators and state Antarctic programs take significant measures to avoid biological invasions, and signatories to the Antarctic Treaty and the Madrid Protocol, which preserve the Antarctic environment, are obligated to minimize their impact on the unspoiled wilderness. However, their plans aren't foolproof. Antarctic ecosystems have been hidden from the globe for millennia, and if an extraterrestrial were to get in, it might have terrible consequences. It's a super special place to understand how the planet works, and so it's really worthwhile putting all our efforts into trying to keep nature operating without interfering. A group of storage containers and sheds are located in an oasis devoid of ice on the Antarctic Peninsula's eastern coast. Surrounded by a diverse array of species, including a large concentration of Adelie penguins on neighboring islands, the Davis facility serves as Australia's southernmost outpost on the mainland. In 2014, its hydroponics facility was the site of an infamous alien invasion. In May of that year, expeditioners entered the facility, composed of 2 gray shipping containers, to pick fresh greens for the chef's evening meal. They trudged across the snow-covered Davis grounds and opened the door, as if stepping through a portal. They were greeted by the sight of leafy vegetables arranged neatly, the sound of trickling water, and most obviously, heat. During the vegetable collection, they inspected the facility's water and noticed a black mat had developed over the surface. When they looked closer, they realized it wasn't a mat, says Andy Sharman, environmental manager at the Australian Antarctic Division. It was thousands of tiny invertebrates. Davis had been invaded by the Thing 1,000 times over. Invading the facility undetected, the Xenila arthropods quickly multiplied in the humid, warm environment. This area of the Antarctic has never before seen the flea-like creatures called collembolans, who had previously been entrenched in warmer climates. They might endanger the local environment if released, according to a panel of top scientists. In a flash, the station switched to an elimination mode. The pace was lightning quick. Even the newly gathered veggies that had made it to the Davis kitchen were among the items that were wrapped and burned after the reaction team sprayed alcohol throughout the facility. The structure went through severe freeze-thaw cycles. The heat would cause any remaining eggs to hatch, but then the temperature would plunge to lower, killing the young. Extreme social separation measures were also taken by the reaction team. The containers were returned to Australia a few months following the discovery and subsequent eradication efforts. The aliens probably got in through plant feed, according to an inquiry into the incursion's source. Even though the collembolan hasn't been detected in the area since subsequent surveillance, other stations have also experienced invasions, so safeguarding the continent from these threats is an ongoing struggle. Among the accomplishments of the Australian Antarctic Division is the extermination of the things at Davis. Yet, incursions remain an ever-present danger. While invertebrates are notorious for hiding in shoes and bags, plant seeds in Velcro, and marine animals in ballast tanks on ships are among the most frequently disseminated non-native species. Casey Station, located on the Antarctic Peninsula in Australia, has been fighting a mushroom fly infestation in its sewage system for more than 20 years. The critter probably traveled concealed in vegetables, and there have been continuous attempts to get rid of it. Similar to this, in 2017, expeditions from Poland found an alien fly in the sewage of an Antarctic Peninsula station. Despite its lack of flight skills and inability to withstand very cold temperatures, it managed to escape captivity and spread, demonstrating that invaders continue to endanger the fragile ecosystem of the continent. The invertebrates that hide in and around human habitations can be located, studied, and, ideally, removed. So far, Australia's stringent biosecurity controls have proven to be very efficient. Nonetheless, there are countless intruders that can bypass our defenses by employing their unique means of transportation, and we can't even see them. With global warming making Antarctic waters more habitable for extraterrestrial life, protecting the ocean will become an additional front in the struggle against alien invasion. But the Antarctic circumpolar current is the strongest current on Earth. Thus, any extraterrestrial invasion by sea would be a major challenge. The ACC acts as a natural barrier by going clockwise around the continent, preventing any marine life from reaching the southern hemisphere. On the other hand, humans managed to overcome the current over 100 years ago. The dangerous seas are navigable by icebreakers and tourist ships, which means non-native species can hitchhike from ports all over the world. According to Arlie McCarthy, a PhD student at the University of Cambridge who studies Antarctic marine creatures, ships that visit Antarctica visit every other part of the world, so potential pathways stretch everywhere. The delicate ecosystems of Antarctica are coming under more and more pressure from these increasingly used routes. In 2020, scientists found mussels that had made the Antarctic Peninsula their home. The mussels had originally come from Patagonia. The species had probably been carried in on a ship's hull and had made its way to Fildes Bay on the West Antarctic Peninsula. Nevertheless, it is difficult to determine the type of ship. Tourists have been filling more than half of the ships that visit the peninsula in the past few years. A further 1/3 come for the purpose of scientific study. Not only that, but these two pursuits are on the rise. Still, researchers are attempting to pin down which species are most likely to launch an invasion. Using a machine learning algorithm, a team of Australian scientists has identified 4 marine species that pose a threat to the Antarctic marine ecosystem currently, and 5 more that could do so in the future due to climate change. The invasion of one species, the Northern Pacific sea star, has proven to be very troublesome. It is quite probable that a shipping vessel brought the starfish to Tasmanian waters from the northern hemisphere. The precise consequences of rising sea temperatures are unknown to scientists. On the other hand, machine learning studies have shown promising outcomes. Because the Antarctic continent is both too distant and too frigid, the likelihood of non-native organisms colonizing its waters is very low, up to the year 2100. In order to keep aliens at bay, it is crucial to always keep an eye out for potential newcomers. Is eradication going to be necessary if aliens do arrive? Exorbitant costs, immense difficulty, and more disruption to the surrounding ecology are all possible outcomes of such an undertaking. The ideal way to prevent an invasion seems to be to stop it before it starts, but is it really possible? We've been lucky so far. It, however, will not always remain so. Deep down on our ocean floors, there are worlds that science has no clues about. We might have discovered what is happening in distant galaxies, but we know next to nothing about what is happening on our ocean beds. So, when NASA began deep-sea exploration, many scientists were shocked and amazed at their discoveries. Beyond the similarities between deep sea and outer space, NASA has discovered life forms that many scientists have called alien to our ecosystems, thus posing serious questions. Why is NASA exploring the depth of our oceans? What discoveries have NASA made so far? And what does this mean for us? Join us in this video as we examine how Joe Rogan breaks silence on NASA's terrifying underwater discovery. Since its establishment, NASA has been working hard to further our understanding of the universe, especially outer space. But now, NASA has decided to explore our ocean floors, hoping it will help our understanding of outer space. Our oceans cover over 70% of the Earth's surface, but over 80% of them remain unexplored. In fact, it is often claimed that we know more about the surface of Mars and the Moon than about the ocean floor on our planet. But NASA is on a mission to change this trend. The U.S. Space Agency is exploring the deep ocean to search for clues about what oceans on other planets could look like and push the limits of science and technology in one of the most extreme environments on our planet. According to its top officials, the mission is filled with wonder, danger, and a significant risk of implosion. The hope is that their underwater discoveries will help unlock some of the mysteries in outer space, while also testing some of the equipment and experiments needed for missions elsewhere in the solar system. While this new direction might surprise many, it has been an expected move in the scientific community for many years. Over the years, scientists have found that Earth's ocean depths are surprisingly similar to some of the conditions NASA expects to find on other worlds in our solar system. They could even provide clues about where scientists should be searching for alien life. The deepest parts of Earth's oceans are known as the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. It is a forbidding place, worthy of its name. Consisting of deep trenches and troughs, it extends 11 kilometers below the surface of the world's oceans. Cumulatively, these depths account for an area of seabed equivalent to the size of Australia. Yet few vehicles can survive plunging into this dark abyss. It is at these depths that NASA scientists are attempting to explore and probe the limits of life on Earth, in partnership with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, WHOI, in Massachusetts. This partnership has led engineers from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California to start building a new autonomous underwater vehicle called Orpheus, named after the ancient Greek hero who traveled to the underworld and back. Orpheus is designed to map the more inaccessible depths. With visual navigation technology similar to NASA's Perseverance Mars rover, Orpheus uses highly sensitive cameras to identify rock formations, shells, and other features on the ocean floor to build up three-dimensional maps dotted with landmarks. This would allow the robot to find its way and recognize places it has already been, but should also help it shed new light on the biodiversity of this harsh environment. According to Tim Shank, a deep-sea biologist who is leading WHOI's Hadal exploration program, Orpheus is a gateway vehicle. If it works, there is no place in the ocean where you can't go. This is not the first time Shank has tried to reach the dark depths of the Hadal Zone. In 2014, Orpheus's predecessor, Nereus, was sent down to the Kermadec Trench, which lies northeast of New Zealand. Unfortunately, the underwater vehicle imploded about 10 kilometers down, most likely due to the immense pressure. After 12 hours, we saw it coming up in small pieces, says Shank. He added that the loss of Nereus made them rethink how they explored the deep sea. At about the size of a quad bike and weighing around 550 pounds, Orpheus is designed to be much lighter, smaller, and cheaper than previous underwater vehicles. This change in design is also expected to make it nimbler, allowing it to get into trenches and vents in the seafloor that have never been explored before. For a long time, marine biologists thought that life in the Huddle Zone was impossible, but as deep-sea submersibles began venturing into the region in the first half of the 20th century, it became apparent that life could survive there. In the past, it was believed that all living organisms were sustained by a food chain ultimately fueled by photosynthesis. Plants, algae, and some marine bacteria in surface waters convert the sun's energy into sugars, which they store in their organic matter. These plants are then eaten by herbivores, which in turn are eaten by carnivorous animals. Scientists were convinced that organisms on the ocean floor survived off dead organic matter, the carcasses of animals, feces, and the steady fall of other organic detritus or marine snow drifting down from above, but it was thought there was not enough food to sustain much in the way of sea creatures, and the deepest areas were believed to still be too dark and cold for life. But this perception of the deep ocean changed in 1977 when a U.S. research team dropped a remotely operated vehicle 8,000 feet into the Pacific Ocean. The vehicle was dispatched to take images of hydrothermal vents, where heat from volcanic activity seeped from the ocean floor. To their amazement, the scientists discovered vibrant ecosystems around the vents, teeming with marine organisms, such as translucent snailfish and amphipods, tiny flea-like crustaceans that had never been seen before. With this discovery, scientists all around the world came across a whole new way of living on Earth. They were seeing animals that don't require direct sunlight, as they live off chemicals coming out of the sea floor. However, this discovery left many scientists perplexed. How could species in the Hadal Zone survive such crushing pressure? In fact, the pressure is at 15,000 pounds per square inch. At this depth, this pressure would squeeze out the individual cells of an animal. However, since that first sighting in 1977, scientists have discovered that organisms living at such depths have adapted on a cellular level to survive down there. Creatures in the Hadal Zone, such as giant amphipod crustaceans and snailfish, have enzymes called piezolites that stop their cellular membranes and proteins from being crushed under extremely high pressure. The piezolites counteract the pressure by increasing the space that proteins take up inside the organism's cells to counteract the weight of the water around it. It's like putting the stakes up in a tent, says Schenk. Discovering organisms that can not only survive, but also thrive in such an oppressive environment raises essential questions for biologists looking beyond the realms of our own planet for alien life. The question is, might it also be found on other ocean worlds? For example, the pressure level between Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, and the Hadal Zone is awfully similar. Europa is said to have a saltwater ocean that is thought to be between 40 to 100 miles deep and contains twice as much as all of Earth's oceans combined. Also, sunlight doesn't penetrate below Europa's thick ice sheet, which is crisscrossed by cracks and fractures. These similarities make the exploration of the Hadal Zone critical for NASA, as doing so would help prepare the way for how to explore outer space. The assumption is that a robot capable of exploring the Earth's Hadal Zone could do the same on a frozen moon 628 million kilometers away. The ocean floor is a great testbed for us to develop the technology that we need in order to have a successful mission to one of these ocean worlds, says Russell Smith, an engineer from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who is part of the team building Orpheus. However, a robot operating in outer space or the deep ocean must be completely autonomous. The robot has to be able to make decisions, says Smith, noting that the aim is for Orpheus to be able to detect and classify environmental DNA and chemicals in the water, as well as bring back samples from the ocean floor. However, building a robot for the Hadal Zone would be incredibly challenging. Orpheus has to withstand intense pressure and extreme temperatures. This is because the water in the huddle zone is just above freezing, but in the hydrothermal vents, temperatures can reach 370 degrees Celsius. Developing a vehicle that is going to survive is really hard, says Smith. You need really thick walls to prevent the electronics from getting crushed or wet. Orpheus is partly constructed from syntactic foam, a buoyant material composed of microscopic glass spheres set in epoxy resin. The foam used in Orpheus comes from leftover material produced for film director James Cameron's Deep-Sea Challenger, which descended to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific in 2012. As it is pitch black in the deep ocean, Orpheus is equipped with a huge flashlight. If the light stays on the entire time, it will quickly drain the robot's battery, leaving it stranded at the crushing depths. To conserve power, Orpheus will switch to a low-power mode when it isn't taking images or samples, says Smith. As part of these missions in 2017, NASA launched the Systematic Underwater Biogeochemical Science and Exploration Analog, also known as Subsea, to bring together the fields of space and ocean exploration. To date, they have carried out 2 missions with remotely operated vehicles to hydrothermal vents in the Pacific Ocean. The volcanic activity around the Loihi Seamount, around 30 kilometers off the coast of Hawaii, and Gorda Ridge, 120 kilometers off the U.S. coast where California and Oregon meet, is thought to be similar to what may be found in the ocean worlds on Europa and Saturn's moon, Enceladus. According to Darlene Lim, a NASA geobiologist who is leading the subsea program and preparing astronauts for exploration of the moon and deep space, the whole project was predicated on finding areas in our deep ocean that had a really good analogous nature to what is predicted to be active in places like Enceladus. Scientists used the 2 subsea missions to better understand the geology and chemistry of these vents and the life found around them. While it was somewhat hidden from us for hundreds of years, the Hadal Zone is far from being devoid of life, as it supports a very rich and somewhat alien ecosystem. One of the deepest dwelling creatures found to date was a giant amphipod that was more than 3 inches long and lived more than 5 miles beneath the surface in the deepest part of the Peru-Chile Trench known as Richards Deep. Named Eurythenes atacamensis and closely related to shrimp, this crustacean is a scavenger that lives off bits of dead sea creatures that drift down from above. It was discovered in 2018 by researchers, including Johanna Wieston, a marinobiologist at Newcastle University. It is thought to be among the most abundant of the creatures living in the trench, alongside at least 3 species of strange and rather fragile snailfish and long-legged isopods. Each has evolved to survive extreme pressures, cold temperatures, and pitch blackness in the Hadal Zone. These vents are very innocuous, says Lim. You have to look very closely for a temperature change in the water coming up through the ground and interacting with very cold seawater. Even that act alone is very valuable for how we might anticipate having to do exploration on some of these ocean worlds in our solar system. While sending robots to Europa and Enceladus may still be decades away, NASA scientists are already applying what they have learned from deep ocean exploration to space missions. In 2024, NASA is expected to send a robotic rover to look for water ice at our moon's south pole. The mission, known as the Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover, or VIPER, will study ice near the lunar crater Nobile in hopes that it could be mined as a resource for rocket fuel or drinking water. While not operating underwater, a rover roaming on the moon will face many of the same technical challenges. We're taking all the learnings from Subsea and applying it to VIPER, says Lim, who is also the deputy lead project scientist on VIPER. The Subsea program aimed to ensure that scientists met their research goals in highly challenging conditions, both from a communications and technology perspective. From an operations perspective, ocean and space exploration also have a lot in common. In both fields, robots are sent to explore treacherous environments that humans cannot reach, supported by remote teams of scientists. However, it could also help prepare astronauts for controlling robotic equipment from a lunar base in the future. Fewer than 10 scientists went out to sea on the subsea mission, and they worked with a larger group of colleagues on shore. For the Viper mission, a team will operate the rover on Earth in near real time. It will have to analyze data and make decisions very rapidly. Efficient communication is critical during these missions, says Zara Mirmalek, a social scientist with NASA who helps scientists prepare for exploration in extreme environments and has worked on both the subsea and Viper programs. For deep-sea exploration, scientists have to change decisions all the time, depending on the ocean conditions, weather, and salinity. You know that you are going to have less time than you planned for, says Mirmalek. It's a lot harder to work in the deep ocean because the conditions are so challenging to the technology. On space missions, communication is extremely limited, says Mirmalek. To prepare for outer space conditions, Mirmalek restricted the subsea scientists to communicating with each other just once a day. Everything we learned by working together with the oceanographic community has been completely invaluable, really priceless, in helping us have confidence in the process that we're using to design our science operations for Viper, says Lim. Much like missions off our planet, those to the bottom of the oceans also allow humanity to look at the Earth in new ways. While NASA says its oceanographic explorations have yielded thousands of scientific discoveries, they are also providing information that could be vital if we hope to continue living in a world with healthy oceans. We need to understand our oceanic environments if we are to save them, says Laura Lorenzoni, ocean biology and biogeochemistry program scientist with the Science Mission Directorate at NASA. This is critical for life on Earth, and the sustained measurements NASA has done and continues to do are fundamental for ensuring a sustainable use of our ocean resources, Lorenzoni says. It means that with each step towards the exploration of other worlds, we also learn a little bit more about some of the most unexplored parts of our blue planet. So far, scientists have made some very intriguing discoveries while exploring the deep sea, from gigantic seamounts and the deepest dwelling fish to a mysterious golden orb and puzzling methane leaks. Here are some of the best deep-sea discoveries of 2023. In September, researchers of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, dredged up a mysterious golden orb from the seafloor in the Gulf of Alaska. Initial analysis revealed that although it was biological in origin, scientists had no idea what it was. Researchers plucked the golden orb from a seamount around 10,000 feet below the surface using a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV. The mysterious object was around 4 inches wide and appeared to be attached to a rock. When it was pulled to the surface, it lost most of its structure and melted into a gloopy pile. Scientists were divided on what the orb was. Some thought it was an egg case, others suspected it was a sponge, while others noted it could be something else entirely. The orb's identity is still unknown. Its gold color is also a mystery. Since no natural light penetrates to these depths, it's often hard to determine why certain colors emerge, researchers wrote. Another discovery was made in July when researchers explored an ancient deep-sea volcano off Canada's Pacific coastline and discovered that it was surprisingly still active and covered in up to 1 million football-size eggs. The underwater mountain towered 3,600 feet above the seafloor. It was spouting warm, nutrient-rich water that sustained a thriving ecosystem of deep-sea corals and a nursery for Pacific white skates, which are little-known sea creatures related to sharks and rays. The skates had laid countless rectangular-shaped eggs, known as mermaids' purses, on the seamount. Scientists estimated there could be anywhere from 100,000 to over 1 million eggs in the area. When these eggs hatch, the seamount likely provides an ideal habitat for the juveniles to grow before heading into the wider ocean. In April, scientists released footage of a group of ghostly white fish swimming around the seafloor more than 5 miles beneath the waves in one of the world's deepest trenches. The unidentified species of snailfish, which likely belongs to the genus Pseudoliparis, was spotted by researchers controlling an ROV in the Izu Ogasawara Trench near Japan at a depth of over 27,000 feet, which is more than 500 feet deeper than any fish have been seen before. The immense pressure at this depth would crush most fish. But snailfish have replaced their scales with a gelatinous layer that helps absorb this pressure. The snailfish also contain special chemicals that protect them on a cellular level. On the same expedition, researchers trapped and dragged up 2 snailfish in the nearby Japan Trench at a depth of over 26,000 feet, which makes them the deepest fish ever caught by humans. In a May study, researchers revealed that one of the most promising sites for future deep-sea mining activities is home to more than 5,000 newly identified animal species, which could all be in imminent danger if humans start mining the area. The Clarion-Clipperton Zone is a large seafloor deformation that stretches from Mexico to Hawaii and covers around 2.3 million square miles, which is around 3.5 times the area of Alaska. It is covered in potato-sized spherical nodules that are rich in highly desired metals, such as manganese, cobalt, and nickel, as well as small concentrations of extremely valuable rare earth elements. Researchers analyzed more than 100,000 individual records collected from the area and estimated that 90% of the species they identified could be new to science. The fear is that deep-sea mining, which could begin properly in the next few years, could threaten all these species. With the possibility of mining looming, it's doubly important that we know more about these really understudied habitats, researchers wrote. As the year rolls by and further research is carried out to understand the depth of our oceans, and by extension outer space, you can expect to find new and previously undiscovered forms of life, what some might even call alien. Thanks for watching another episode of Voyager. While you're still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more mind-blowing videos about space.